Hey everybody, welcome to the March Hangout for D4H Video Community members. I'm the only one here at the moment. If any of you are watching, look at it, if you're on the Hangout page where this is actually being broadcast, there should be a link that I shared. It should allow you to actually join the Hangout so we can talk in person about design or entrepreneurship, anything related to what you're trying to do right now. Since it's just me at the moment, and it looks like there's at least a couple people who are RSVP'd. I think Thorben wasn't going to make it. So what I always end up doing in the beginning of these is I start talking about maybe something that I'm working on or something that somebody else in the community is working on. And then usually somebody jumps in and we end up talking about something else. But so this time, actually, I want to talk about a design that Breno Baldrati, I hope it's Breno Baldrati, has submitted to the community just a couple days ago. And he submitted this design, and I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to go ahead and talk about it since he was looking for feedback on it. So I'm going to share the browser window. If anybody jumps in, feel free to interrupt. But here is what Breno designed for one of his clients. And A-Train is a HR management consultancy. So let's just go ahead and look at this and think about our very first impression as we're looking at it. So it is a very dark overall color scheme. So it's giving me an immediate sense of sort of either exclusivity or mystery or exclusivity or mystery, or it could potentially be seen as like kind of scary, as is the initial feeling that you get when you immediately look at what you're seeing here. Now, there are these animated dots here that are being connected by lines, and they're moving around in these geometric shapes, and they're following my mouse. Now, I think that there's an image in the background too that's faded, but it's so faded that I'm not actually able to see it at this point. Breno did say that the client specifically requested a lot of motion, and let's see if I can see why specifically that was. They want to make their products and services known for the audience and look modern and vivid. Okay. So I think that's where the motion was supposed to be going in. And now, if I just to look at this beyond just design, look at it totally holistically. The first thing I'm seeing is also discover your talents. And I guess if I'm an HR person, and I'm coming here to this site, and I'm seeing discover my talents, I guess contextually I might have an idea what that means. I might be thinking that maybe helps me find the talents within my organization, the existing people, what is it is they're good at, and how we can best make use of those talents that they have is kind of what I'm thinking. I'm not clear here initially what exactly it is that this company does. But here we do have, of course, what we do, how we do, why us. And there is a color scheme here that is primary colors. blue, yellow, red. I guess often you see that as red, yellow, blue as the primary colors, and they usually evoke a sense of simplicity, or they're the basics, right? They're the basic colors. You can, if you have pigments of those colors, you can mix just about any color with those colors. And so they might be trying to actually, I haven't been presenting the screen the whole time, unfortunately. But now it is. Okay, great. So now you can actually see. Now you can actually see the site. That Google Hangouts has that tricky thing where you share a screen and it's actually not being presented to everyone just yet. So there are these red, yellow, blue. It might be saying that you're really back to basics. They have good fundamentals. Those might be like the basic building blocks of your human resources, the talents that they have. That might be what that is saying with those. Then we also have these thin lines here that make up these navigational elements that echo a little bit the lines that we have in this animation here. So those are some design elements that are going on where things are talking to each other a little bit, that we have these lines. Now, when I mouse over these and they fill in, it's a little bit inconsistent with, there's not really a lot of that being repeated throughout the design. And we do have this solid colored menu here, but I don't know if that's been considered what is trying to be accomplished visually with the with filling these in and having them fade like they do. And it makes it hard to read for a moment, which is jarring for the user. There's a great book called Don't Make Me Think that I think would be helpful for a lot of what's going on in some of the interface of this. Because we do see as we scroll down, any of these are going to take us to different parts, to what we do, how we do. These are, and you can very lightly see, says our services there. And there's a lot of mixture going on of navigational patterns. The color is different. The visual qualities are different in that there are photographs here, and while there are just lines and type here, and also the type is contrasts these lines a lot. These lines are very geometric. They sort of suit themselves to a geometric typeface, such as like a Bodoni or something like Bodoni, or a Futura or something like Futura. Now, it doesn't mean that you necessarily need to use one of those typefaces in order for this to work, but it does start to get a little overwhelming down here, where we have this typeface that has a lot of different shapes going on and a lot of subtle humanist curves going on next to this very geometric stuff. Let's see here, actually. I'm going to see if I can mess with this. The font is Merriweather. What if it was Futura? Do I have that on my? Futura isn't necessarily always the best font to be using on screen, because it has such a small X height, it's a little hard to read. But you can see there's a little bit more harmony going on in the forms of these letters. relative to these geometric shapes that are around here. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. Back to Merriweather. Something that you would like to, that would be good for you to do, Breno, would be I'm going to go all the way back to the body here, looking for the font family, because there was a font family specified for that particular rule. And it looks like maybe that's the way that Breno is doing it. And Breno mentioned that he didn't seem to be fairly super confident in his code at the moment. So I'll just go ahead and maybe give some tips there. So for example, if I go to discover your talents, I can see, yes, font family is Merriweather right there. It's for demo 2 main title. And then it's used again. Oh, this is a main title class, so it's using the same one. But then I imagine that all throughout here, if I pick any of these other different ones, such as the div class buttons, there's Merriweather again. None of this is necessary. We can remove, ooh, and actually, that looks like a little bit more harmonious as far as the relationship between these outlines and the typeface itself. I mean, notice in like iOS 8 or iOS, well, I guess it started in iOS 7 or iOS 8, there's all these icons that really harmonize really well with the Helvetica, Helvetica new light, in that there's just these crisp, thin outlines that echo what's going on with the font, with the Helvetica new light. So, let's see here. I'm just getting rid of these, so I can show you, I can get rid of the font rules there. I can get rid of the font family here, and that's funny. It's being, oh, then it's so redundant. It's everywhere. The Merriweather is everywhere. So I think I might be able to teach Breno and hopefully some other folks how they can specify font families a little bit more elegantly, a little more efficiently, and make everything easier going forward even. Oh, so this discover your talents, all right, now that is just a regular sans serif typeface. Anyway, if I go back to HTML, the HTML, he's using a normalized CSS. It's a library that kind of makes it so that all the different CSS make browsers render all elements more consistently. Is that the word that's used? More consistently, yeah, okay. And that's something that you can download it, and it will, if there might be some sort of inconsistencies between different browsers and how they render certain HTML elements. And Normalize will has taken care of every little variation there is in every browser. And at least it's something you can load up before you load your actual style sheet, and it will and then they're starting with a clean slate on all your CSS that comes after that. And I don't know how big it is. I think it probably, if you don't have a hugely trafficked site, isn't going to make a huge difference in terms of conversion rates or anything like that. I mean, I know that people like to talk about however many milliseconds with Amazon costs them so much money, but that's because they're Amazon, because they're a huge company with billions of page views, and it just starts to add up. But I think for most people, maybe a few kilobytes there to get some consistency isn't going to make a big difference. But I do want to show that what he could be doing is, at least on the body tag, the body element in his CSS. This is in the style CSS, so this is his actual style sheet. Go font family, Merriweather. All right, and that would go ahead and change it, and then he wouldn't have to specify it on any of his, he wouldn't have to specify it on any of his other rules at all. He would not have to specify that font. Now, what would be good for him to do then is also is to create a whole stack. So in case Merriweather doesn't load for whatever reason, and I'll show you how Merriweather is loading here in a moment, you want to have some sort of backup control, because actually right now, if Merriweather doesn't load, you're getting just, I think that's Arial, just standard sans serif from the normalized CSS is what's loading. Now, if you want to, if that's fine with you, then that's fine. But if you want to have more control than that, then you can go Merriweather, and then you want to fall back on something that's very common. Because Merriweather is a Google font. We'll get into how that's being loaded through Google Fonts. And then there might be like a really common typeface that's somewhat similar. I would think, Georgia is very common, and it's on pretty much everybody's computer, and that could be next on the stack. So this is how it would work, is I have it in Merriweather, and then I have comma Georgia, and I have Merriweather in quotes. Not totally necessary. It can give you some extra confidence when there's a space in a name. If it was like Merriweather Open Sans or something like that, it would be really helpful to make sure that you're getting exactly what you're specifying. But if Merriweather didn't load for some reason, then Georgia would load. Oops, and it looks like there's at least a viewer, and that person is welcome to go ahead and join the Hangout through the link that this is being broadcast on. If you would like to come and discuss any things, that's the whole point, for us to talk about stuff, but I understand this might be extremely entertaining. So, and I'll just put serif as well at the end. So I don't even know what would it even look like. If it would probably be Times New Roman if Merriweather nor Georgia were available. Yeah, that's Times New Roman. And that's what was showing up previously when in our discussion that I was having with Breno, where I peeked at his code and noticed that he was trying to use Merriweather, but everything was showing up as Times New Roman. It was because when you use a Google font, you need to include, and on the page for any Google font, you need to include the, whoa, okay, there's some stuff being messed with by one of my plugins, I believe. But trying to find where the font is being loaded. Style ID. Oh, that's another Evernote messing with the. It's possible that he's loading it through the style sheet, maybe. So. There it is, at import URL, there's the font being loaded in the Google font so that he can actually use it. So that's how that works. That would be, it's nice to have some sort of a stack. It's called just a font stack is what you call it. And the further up you can put it in like body or something like that, the less you have to repeat yourself later on in your code. And you need that many fonts. You can get by with one font. Like Cademy.net is all Lotto. That's the only typeface that I'm using the whole site, and I'm just trying to just being creative by using bolds and stuff like that. Which, to be fair, that's what Breno is doing here, is just using the basically one typeface. I'm gonna go ahead and reload this. All right, so I did mention that there were some kind of inconsistencies in the navigation here. It's always good to, whenever possible, to use some sort of pattern that is recognizable to people, that they're really used to, that's very common. And we have a lot of patterns going on here. This, I think, relates back to the book, Don't Make Me Think, which is, some of the advice in that book is a little bit dated, but it will basically tell you to use very common patterns and use them over and over again. And what we have here is kind of a horizontal navigation that's centered of 3 different things. And then we go down to this one, and then we have 4 things, like a 4 up. They're organized in a grid here. And then if we go further down, then we have these accordion things, which if you open any of these, you really just find a pretty small amount of text, and it's very useful to, if you're using some sort of accordion thing, it's usually useful for organizing things that can't otherwise be presented without the accordion in some way. It's great for like an FAQ. If there's just a bunch of questions and you want to go down all of them, and you don't want to clutter up the whole interface. Now, there are a number of things going on here. We do have 8, I believe these are steps to the process. Strategic talent management, how we do it, the foundation. Defining the talent management strategy includes asking questions like, where will the business be in 5 to 10 years? Okay. And then nomination. Nominate those employees. Okay. Talent review. This is something that maybe feels like it could have its own page. Because right now, I would like to think of this page or the home page as, it's got to tell me enough to make me want to, it's got to tell me enough to make me want to constantly be investigating more. So right now it's saying discover your talents. It'd be really nice. I think it could definitely say a lot more, like A-Train helps you discover and make the best use of the hidden talents of people within your organization. Assessment center, development center, training, coaching. I feel like these could have copy to them that were, so identifying the best people for your organization is crucial to your business success. I mean, if I were to really, if I were to really boil these down to what is going on, I might say, we identify the best people. We identify that, we equip those leaders with the most powerful tools and skills, and focus on unleashing the potential among those leaders, and ensure business sustainability with strategic long-term people development. So you help me find the best people within my organization. You give them the tools they need to be the best leaders that they can be. You coach them. I'm not sure exactly how that's different from the training. But then you sustain that. It sounds like you go the long-term people. You help with an HR strategy that ensures that the best people are always being found and they're always in the best positions, and that as they grow, they are doing what they should be doing. Like there can be a lot more clarity. There can be a lot more being told to me right now as somebody who's looking at this, because right now it just says assessment center, development center, training, and coaching, which might mean a little bit more to somebody who is an HR agent, but what do they get out of it? That they're going to ultimately be reducing payroll because they're going to be maximizing what they're getting out of the people that are there. I feel like that can be said somehow here. These things are a little generic. The assessment center, which, by the way, I believe that's misspelled, and this is a word that I've never heard of. Get rid of the T there, and I've seen that throughout the site. But that stuff happens. Let's see here, and how we do it. You know, this could just be a scrolling thing, really, which says up front with like a few words and maybe a few pictures what it is that they do with their services, and then you can dig deeper into these things. So I can dig deeper into these pages, which these pages look much better than the home page, in that they follow a pattern that like I'm used to seeing. I understand there's information over here that I can read, and I think that maybe the typeface is not loading here because I don't believe that he's meaning to use, Lusitana is not loading here, so that is not there. And I believe this is coming out as, it's coming out as just a regular sans serif, but I believe he wants it to be Merriweather. Okay. I don't know what Lutina is. Lusitana. There's a bold attempt there to mix these two serif typefaces. Lusitana has like a very old feel to it. Reminds me of it's from like early printing. Reminds me a little bit of like, not quite Jansen. It doesn't have a slanted crossbar on the E, but it's an old-looking typeface. It's old-timey, and he's trying to mix it with this other serif typeface, which is Merriweather. And I think that Merriweather would work fine, actually, if we were to just try Merriweather. Yeah, okay, so now, what is an assessment center? It's funny, I have to click all the way through to here to find out what an assessment center is. It would be nice to be told that a little bit in the front. I think that you get more people on this page if you could tell them that from the beginning. But anyway, the font weight, just try bold. That alone would make a big difference. And margin bottom is 0.4 em. Yeah, what about the margin top? About 0.8 ems. Nope, that's not enough. 1.6 ems. Okay, now we've got a decent amount of white space here. Here's a detail It's a little bit difficult to pull off sometimes, depends upon your CMS. But I will make this a little smart apostrophe. Notice that changed to a lot sexier looking apostrophe than it was before. But anyway, this page, the pattern of this page is familiar. Assessment Center. Identifying the best people for your organization is crucial to your business success. Okay, it's telling me what an assessment center does, I think, but the language is a little passive. I mean, I don't even know. People talk about passive voice and active voice. I actually don't even know what those are. But identifying the best people for your organization is crucial to your business success. I would rather say we help you unlock the hidden talents of your existing workforce. Or something like that, that we do this for you, or we're going to bring something for you. Because otherwise it's kind of saying identifying the best people for your organization is crucial to your business success. Wait, are you telling me that that's something I should do? You're just telling me that that is a thing that I could do. People react much more strongly when they're told of action they can take. Which, I mean, just to, if they really want to get a lot of use out of this site, it would be very helpful to have some sort of a white paper or report or some sort of content that talks about their philosophy and what they do in a way that is like an article that they would want to read or that they would want to share with one of their colleagues to say, oh, look at these folks and what their philosophy is on finding talents within our organization. You know, maybe we should talk about this. How are potential customers going to engage here? Because actually, I'm not sure what the call to action is for the site itself. I'm not really seeing a place for me to take action or find a next step as a potential customer. About us. Contact. This is how we get in touch. Is, you know, I tell my name and put all this stuff in, and it would be more beneficial. I think it would be more effective if there was some way to give potential clients something that was of value to them that allowed you to then contact them. Maybe in exchange for an email address, they can download a white paper, or they are going to get a free 30-minute consultation where somebody is going to call them and talk to them about their HR needs. That there's some sort of thing for them to grab onto, because right now it's just a box on the page that tells them that they can contact them, but you're leaving it up to them, and it's the cognitive load of that is a little high compared to having something specific to respond to. Let's go back home. And then let's see, we understand. Why us? Okay, why us? We understand. We understand your organization's vision, values, and culture. Current and future business goals and challenges and what they mean for talent and leadership development. Customize. I mean, again, I'm having to click on these things to find small amounts of information that could be presented to me without having to click. Actually, if I click on these further, do I go any further? No, I don't. I don't go anywhere. Yeah, so again, it's getting just too many different patterns going on here, and there's not enough information being presented to me. I'm having to work for information that there's nothing on the site making me want to actually get that information, right? Assessment center, okay. I mean, I don't know what that is, but why am I curious? You know, if you're telling me more about what an assessment center does up front, then I might start to be curious. What will it do for me? Nobody cares about anything but themselves. We're wired that way. There's nothing we can do about it except for if we're really consciously trying to do otherwise. The person who's looking at this is concerned about their concerns, and their concerns might be, the concerns of the organization in that particular point. They want to do their job. They want to do their job easily and effectively, and impress their boss. So those are some things that would help with that. Now, if I want to get into some design details, I mean, I like that he's using. He's not using a bunch of different fonts. He's using different typographic devices to make things happen, to give visual interest to what's going on, and that's really cool. So one thing that is strange here is this results is not all caps. Footer LIH3, and I think that what is going on is that the underlying, and the underlying code it is all caps. So to do this the really clean sort of CSS way, you go ahead and write results as it's written there, and then you do text transform uppercase, and now it's all uppercase. And now I'm just going to add a little tiny bit of letter spacing, because when you make things uppercase like this, you can go ahead and add like a pixel, maybe 2 pixels of letter spacing, and it will give it a sort of a different texture. It helps space out. These capital letters have big counterforms. There's a lot of space within the letters themselves, and then these strokes get very close to each other when they aren't spaced out, and so spacing them out makes it feel a little bit more airy. Another thing that's going on here is color white. That's for hover. The color is an RGBA. I don't know, I'm just going to guess some stuff here. CCC. I'm counting in hexadecimal here, so I'm going to make it lighter by going AAA. Oh, that's darker. All right, so CCC, EEE would be really light. If I did EF, 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 then it'd almost be white. E0, E0, E0. Neutral gray. I can actually start to read this a little bit easier. The font size is 8M. I'm not sure what his font sizing method is right now. Personally, I really enjoy, we've talked about rems before. I like to just go on the HTML, make it 10 pixels, the base level. And then font size, make it 0.9 rems. I can make it 1.2 rems, 0.9 rems. A little bit bigger, I can read it a little bit easier. The logo is getting a little lost. It's because there's this dark background with the logo itself has some dark background. I feel like this logo should not be on a dark background. So, footer background. Just made it white. No, that wouldn't work. There's almost no color that you can put this logo on, because anything light the letters are in white, and anything dark, the logo itself is dark. So there's a problem with this logo in itself. I mean, even middle, even in like a neutral gray, like an 888, you still run into big contrast problems. I don't know if Breno has any control over that or not, but that could really be worked on. That if you can get a logo redesign in there somewhere, they could use it, or just a reassessment at least, because this is very hard to work with. There's not, green? There's yellow. There's literally not a color that this could be put on that will actually contrast. Let's see here, red, brown, I don't know, that's not brown. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, thanks a ton to Breno for sharing his work on the community. I know that it is very, it can be very intimidating for people. It's very hard to share your work, and especially when I go through it and I go through all this stuff that could be fixed. The point is that it's a very good start, but sharing your work and getting feedback on it is absolutely critical. I went to design school for 5 years, and that was a lot of that. A lot of us putting stuff up on the wall, a lot of us tearing apart everything, a lot of us not taking any of it personally, and so that's very important. I definitely would encourage other people, as you have things that you're working on, to share them within the community. Go ahead and get feedback. Give feedback to your peers where you can. Actually, Breno's thread is still there on the Facebook community, so go ahead and chime in with your thoughts, even if it's to agree or disagree with anything that I've said so far in talking about it. Now, I might talk about it more, but I do see that Marcelo is here, and we had a viewer earlier. Hey there, Miss Marcelo, how's it going?
Good. I was a bit late to the party, but I'm here.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, good stuff there. I've been
great. I'm glad that you might have found some insights there that were useful to you.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything specific jump out at you that was a surprise or that you didn't expect?
Well, the logo thing was interesting. I think that finding the issue with the logo wasn't expecting, and indeed,
yeah.
the colors being used, like the white and the other ones, maybe changing the color would be a nice way to give a better contrast. At least having making it easier to put it into another context, like with other colors.
Yeah, this is something that people have to think about a lot when you're designing a logo. It's hard enough just to design a logo that is telling you, that is conveying the message that you're trying to get it to convey. But then there's all these other factors that a lot of people don't think about, such as the color. How is the color going to contrast on the things that it's put on? Or what is the orientation of the logo? I think that we had an issue like that with Jacob. Jacob had shared, what was the name of the company? It was like industrial parts company. It was a circular gear, but because it was a big circular gear, it's like if you were going to put it on a website, it's kind of tricky. You've got to either put it huge in the middle, or if it's going to be in the top left, it's going to take up all this vertical space, and it's not going to fit. So you have to think about those things. One thing that we had to think about a lot when I was doing print design was even like the way that things would be printed, was there might be a logo that has colors butting up against each other, But if you're going to be using spot color, which means that you're actually using an ink that's the color of the logo itself, then the registration, meaning that it goes to the printer, it's going to be a little bit off where the colors are printed and they have to go up against each other. So you have to think about the way that those things are being reproduced. So we don't have to think about that design for the web, but we do have to think about things like, pixels and the level of detail things are going to be, and if things are going to, if there's words that are different sizes within the logo, how are those going to read when the logo is presented at different sizes? What are people going to use the logos for in the future? And sometimes it's going to be in the hands of people who aren't trained as designers, and they're going to be doing things with it that you don't anticipate. So those are things people have to think about.
I also found very interesting when you mentioned like the cognitive effort, like for the call to action. This was like people would just go to the site and, okay, what do I do now? Like what they are selling something, but I'm not really sure where to go, and this can actually make you lose a sale.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and that's interesting. I mean, the functional design, like the design behind. You also, I mean, you have to think about how pretty it is, but the important thing is always the functional design in this context, I think. Like as you said, like you have to see what are your goals.
Yeah, I mean, it won't matter how attractive it is if there's not a way for them to engage with the company. And in this case, it is difficult to decide how to engage. And sometimes it's good to have some sort of a soft engagement call to action that is low commitment that somebody can go forward with, which a lot of people use a free consultation. I mean, all sorts of businesses use free 30-minute consultations. I mean, it's helpful for potential leads, but it's helpful for sales is the reason they're doing it. They get to learn about these potential customers. The customer has a low commitment. They don't have to feel this. They don't have to feel a barrier there to actually go ahead and engage. And like here, we just have like basically a box, so people are probably just typing in, I'm freaking out. Help me! My evaluation is in 2 weeks.
Exactly, and it's too generic. Like it has only contact, and like it's better if like you take the hand and guide the customer in this sense. And at first it doesn't even look like it's part of a design work, but and that's what's interesting to me. At first, I would before like taking the course and okay, this doesn't look like design, but it is actually. It's related. Like thinking about stuff like this, which I find interesting.
Yeah, I feel very lucky with the design work that I do. I'm in control of everything, but in some ways it's a lot more work. Like I do the marketing, I do the copywriting, I'm doing the designing, I'm doing the coding, and all those things are just, kind of inextricably linked. To really get those things to seamlessly work together, and they're actually coming from different brains, is very hard. So he's dealing with a client. The client said things like they want more motion. It can be difficult to satisfy them sometimes when they don't really know. They start saying exactly what they want the design to look like, and it can be tricky working with clients in that way. And that is where process is very important. So really, I don't know if you or if Breno saw the talk with Brennan Dunn that I did a while back about sort of the Socratic method of talking to your client and getting to the bottom, the root of why they're really, what's going on in the business that's making you want to have a website. And what does that mean to your bottom line? And just like sort of a series of yeses, identifying how you're going to solve that problem through design. And it takes experience to be able to give a client some sort of a plan where you can say, here's the problem that we're trying to solve. This is the method we're using to solve it. And then through that, it becomes obvious that this design is the correct
Right.
solution, rather than them taking what they think they know about design or their business and then trying to do the work for you, and then it just becomes a big mess.
Like educate them, right?
Yeah.
I think many.
Educate them, but it's tough because you have to educate them into, like,
Let's
making
just
it
say,
their
hey,
idea.
go to the Design for Hackers course. Let's set up an affiliate program. But yeah, I think many clients have this idea of, okay, I want something pretty, and that's it.
Yeah.
So that's tough.
Have you encountered that? Did you work with clients much?
Well, I don't really do design per se, but yeah, it's tricky to deal with clients sometimes, like to be on the same page. I get what you're saying.
Do you run into that? Do you do development work for clients sometimes?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have much to say about the visuals for that?
Well, I'm not really into design yet, but when I do the whole product, I do find situations like that. But I often outsource to designers and work with designers when I do that. So it's easier for me. But I totally get.
Where did you find the designers that you're working with on that?
Well, sometimes Odesk, sometimes elance.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You don't have like go-to guns that you've decided like you really like working with, and that
I have someone here where I live that he's a really good designer, but it's tough to get a spot on his calendar. He's very busy, so
not always available, right?
Yeah, he's very demanded. Like there's a lot of work that he does, so it's hard to get
plenty busy, right? And like talented designers.
I'd love to get him full time, but so yeah.
Yeah. So.
By the way, you said that there was a talk from you that you go deeper into this process.
There was I don't know if it's out there anymore, but I did a webinar with Brennan Dunn.
Brendan.
Do you know who Brennan Dunn is?
Doesn't ring a bell.
He has this awesome course called Double Your Freelance Rate. And
hear about it.
Yeah, so we did a webinar together where we talked about sort of the philosophy behind Double Your Freelance Rate. And it's basically starting with your client is coming to you with a specific problem, and they might be saying that they want a website, or they need a website redesign, but there's something going on in their business. There's some reason why they think that they need that. And so getting down to the bottom of that, like it might be this company they're just not getting enough leads, and they think that, well, they need a new website. They're not communicating well. They need enough leads. Well, okay, well, what are leads worth? How well do they convert their leads when they do get a lead? And it might just be that like each lead might be worth $2,000. So if you can design the project and design the site around getting more of those leads and getting this company more sales, then the conversation about working hourly just goes completely out the window. If you can demonstrate that you understand, that you have enough business knowledge, you understand their business well enough, and that you have enough experience in the thing that it is that you do, whether it's building websites and doing marketing, helping them getting leads, that you can say to them, I'm going to get you this many more leads, you're going to make this much more money, and you can charge whatever you want basically underneath that. It becomes not an issue as far as you're not a code monkey anymore. You're not charging $100 an hour or whatever. You're charging $25,000 a week.
Right, makes sense.
Because if they meet you and they realize like, wow, this person really understands my business, they really understand this problem, they understand how to solve it with the technology, then some code monkey that's going to charge them $100 an hour, they don't even want to work with that person. They want to work with the person that is going to help them make more money. And if you can prove that and do that through understanding their business and understanding their problem and demonstrating your knowledge in your domain, then the sky is the limit.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about communication too.
Yeah, Brendan talks about that a lot. I'm sure he's got an email list and stuff too.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, he's extremely knowledgeable on it. He's has a lot of experience as a freelancer, and myself, I only freelanced ever to make just enough money to experiment with the rest of my time, and eventually, build Design for Hackers and explore other things.
That's a good approach. But regarding design, the tricky part, and it's related to what you just said, and for me right now that you say that, is when dealing with clients is basically, I think, is that like go and really communicate with them and understanding and how can I say, educate them too, because sometimes you just want like, oh, okay, I want like the requirement like more motion, but why do you want that? Why is it needed? Like the difference between like functional, like this is needed to achieve a goal, other than just there for the sake of being there, for the sake of like animation is cool. So that's a challenge.
Yeah, it's helpful to always bring it back to the business objectives. I mean, you got to try to do it in a way that's not patronizing to the client, but when they are saying like, oh, they want more motion, like, okay, cool. Well, what is it that you're trying to convey with this motion? Okay, I think in their case that they wanted to be seen as innovative. Then it might be a matter of, okay, well, let's look at some other sites that you've seen that you feel are innovative, that have what it is that you're imagining in your brain, and then you might be able to dissect the business models of those sites, and it might come out to be like, well, actually, the way that this business works isn't the way that your business works, and so this isn't appropriate, or it might be that it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I always think about people, for a very long time there, it seemed like people, it was fashionable for some people to say like, well, look at Google's homepage. They just have a search box on there. Like, well, yeah, that's because, and it was innovative when it started, but that's because they are a search engine. Does your business work that way? Is it something that somebody can, it's a search engine and it's a very low commitment thing, and people are going to get what they're looking for by searching there. Does your business work that way? If it doesn't, then your homepage might need a little bit more information, a little bit more educating, to actually get people to take some sort of action that gets them closer to making to becoming a sale, a customer.
Yeah, that thought process.
So yeah, just going back to the business objectives always. Yeah. Yeah. And a good way to do that is by using something called a creative brief. Mm-hmm. And if you do some Googling, then you can find creative briefs online. They can take any form. It sounds really formal, but really it's just a matter of having a document that says, all right, here is an overview of what this project is. Here is what we're trying to accomplish with this project. Here is our audience for this project, what we know about them. Here's what we could say to that audience, not necessarily in the exact words, but what we could say to them to persuade them to take the action that we want them to take. Why wouldn't they take the action that we want them to take? And just exploring all those things and coming to some sort of an agreement with your client that, yes, this is our understanding of this project and what we're trying to accomplish and how we think that we're going to accomplish that. And then making every conversation kind of go back to like, in the creative brief, it says, that these are kind of some of the ways that we would be able to get them to do this thing that we want them to do. Your suggestion about whatever design element, does that help us do that? And it helps focus the conversation towards the objectives of of the project a lot better that way.
Nice, great to know.
Clients will sometimes just get they'll get neurotic if they don't feel like you're in control. How you don't have the experience to help translate their business problems into a solution of some sort.
Yeah, and it's easy to be in a big mess, like if you don't focus and like use a process like that, because it's a creative process. Like this doesn't have structure per se, so you gotta use some structure to give order to it, like somehow to be on the track.
Well, yeah, as like you said, it's the creative process, and this happens with me all the time. Sometimes I have to create a little bit of something, and then go back to, all right, what was I trying to accomplish again? and there might be things I discover in that process of creating something that are going to change how I think I am going to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish. It's an iterative process. You have to keep revisiting it, So
Exactly.
It actually is important to have that organization to the process.
And sometimes you just have to brainstorm and just put things out there.
Yes. Yeah, and then you have something to react to, and you can go back over those things and say, all right, what are we trying to accomplish, and does this help us accomplish that? How does it not? And repeat. You have to have the time, and you have to have the budget to do that. But that's a whole other thing in itself.
There's a lot of stuff, like it goes through psychology, and it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, man, I gotta run. It was a nice brief conversation. And,
yeah.
I hope that next time we'll be able to be on time.
Yeah, no problem. I think that hopefully it will be really helpful for Breno and for everyone else as well to really see a good site teardown there. And then I think we had a good conversation about process here too. So this will be the conclusion of our Hangout for this month. And hopefully I'll see you next time.
Cool. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
All right. You too. Bye, everyone.